Now, Aston Martin debuted a number of upgrades for its AMR22 car ahead of the Spanish Grand Prix on Friday, including design concepts that immediately drew comparisons to Red Bull's RB18 car. The FIA revealed that it investigated the matter after noticing the similarities during routine pre-event checks, but determined that Aston Martin had followed the correct processes in designing the updates, thus complying with the regulations. However, Red Bull responded with a statement stating that transferring its intellectual property would be a serious violation of the regulations. Now, several Red Bull employees, including former head of aerodynamics Dan Fallows, have recently joined Aston Martin. Fallows officially began his tenure as Aston Martin's technical director on April 2nd. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner said after practice on Friday, "Imitation is the biggest form of flattery at the end of the day. It's no coincidence that we've had a few individuals that have transferred from Red Bull to Aston Martin over the winter and the early part of this season. It was brought to our attention by the FIA earlier in the week when they said, we've got a car that looks remarkably like yours. Can we have a list of your levers to see where they went?" So that immediately raises alarm bells. Now, what is permissible? We see it up and down the paddock. Individuals move from team to team after a gardening leave period. What they take in their head, that's fair game, that's their knowledge. What isn't fair and what is totally unacceptable, which we wouldn't accept, is if there has been any transfer of IP at all. Now, in the aftermath of the pink Mercedes controversy in 2020, when Racing Point, since rebranded as Aston Martin, attempted to copy the design of the 2019 title-winning Mercedes using photographs, the FIA tightened up on rules governing car reverse engineering. However, Horner stated that the Aston Martin updates could not have been designed in the same manner because the current look of the RB18 wasn't implemented until a month or so ago, implying that work began much earlier. Horner was hesitant to say whether Red Bull had any evidence of IP transfer, but he did say the team would look into it internally by looking for its software. "We've got our own software protections. We know exactly what software is looked at, where that software is controlled. But I think it's the job of the regulator, the FIA, because they have the access, and we rely very much on them to ensure that there is no transfer of IP, that there has been no abuse of that. So it's very much their job to go and police that." Horner went on to say that it was up to the FIA as the regulator to ensure the rules were followed, citing concerns about the precedent that was set. "It's not the biggest of issues for us unless Aston Martin start beating us, but for the teams that are in that midfield, it could have a material effect on them. The biggest thing that we want to ensure is that our IP is protected and it hasn't been abused." As previously stated, it was Aston Martin's own actions when competing under the Racing Point moniker that resulted in things being much more strictly regulated now. Racing Point sparked outrage in 2020 when it ran a carbon copy of the previous year's Mercedes W10. Competitors complained, and Racing Point was found guilty of illegally using Mercedes design IP with its rear brake ducts after a protest from Renault. For its actions, the FIA fined the team €400,000 and deducted 15 Constructors' Championship points. Aside from the specifics of the case, Racing Point's actions sparked a broader debate in the sport about whether F1 risked damaging itself if teams suddenly felt that the best way to achieve success was to copy other designs. It was agreed that such a scenario should not occur, and the FIA was tasked with developing a set of rules to limit the scope for car clones. As the FIA's head of single-seater matters, Nicholas Tombatsis, said at the time, "This will prevent teams from using extensive part of photos to copy whole portions of other cars in the way that Racing Point has done. We will still accept individual components to be copied in local areas, but we don't want the whole car to be fundamentally a copy of another car." The new rules, which went into effect for the following season and were carried over to the all-new 2022 rulebook, prohibited the sharing of any intellectual property between outfits and prohibited the reverse engineering of any listed parts on cars. While teams may be influenced by a competitor's design or concept, they can only do so by using information that must potentially be available to all competitors. Such information can only be obtained at race and test events, so no work can be done away from the track. Article 17.3.3 of the 2022 F1 regulations outlines where the line is crossed in terms of teams going too far in their attempt to replicate other people's ideas. It specifically prohibits the use of photographs or images combined with software that converts them to point clouds, curves, surfaces, or allows CAD geometry to be overlaid onto or extracted from the photograph or image. the use of stereophotogrammetry, 3D cameras, or any 3D stereoscopic techniques, and any form of contact or non-contact surface scanning. Any technique that projects points or curves on a surface so as to facilitate the reverse engineering process. Now, while staff have been moving around for years and Aston Martin has taken on some key Red Bull figures, the FIA rules state that no direct information can be transferred from rivals. This information may include data, design, drawings, or any other intellectual property. Of course, there is no way to prevent ideas that one designer has about a car philosophy from being implemented for another team. However, the rule states that if there are significant similarities between listed components on different cars, the FIA has the right to investigate and will require teams to prove that the design was done independently. Teams will be asked to provide data and information to demonstrate that they followed the rules and designed components from scratch. That's exactly what happened in the Aston Martin case, with the FIA being notified of possible similarities between the AMR22 upgrades and the Red Bull RB18. The FIA announced on Friday that it had investigated the Aston Martin parts and that, after analysing data from both teams, it was satisfied that no violations of the regulations had occurred. For the time being, Red Bull has only stated that any transfer of IP would be a serious concern, but you can bet it will be double checking the details in the coming days to ensure that no direct information got out of Milton Keynes. But given all the hysteria surrounding the upgrades, how effective were they? Well, any hopes of the team making an immediate leap forward in terms of pace were dashed in qualifying, as neither Vettel nor teammate Lance Stroll made it out of Q1. Vettel, who had hoped to challenge for a Q3 spot, struggled to find a good balance and finished 16th, while Stroll ended up 2 places back. While Vettel expressed some surprise over team radio about being eliminated in Q1, he's confident that Aston Martin's upgrade strategy is the right one. If you look at the table, it's not that different, but we knew that it was not going to be a massive step in performance straight away. But we do believe in the concept and we're confident that there's more to come. It's very early, it's basically a new car that ran yesterday, so it's different. I'm still figuring it out. I thought I had a good feeling, and in quali, I was slowed down by, let's say, the poor car balance in terms of struggling to get a feel of the rear, the thrust in the rear of the car. It was moving too much. I just couldn't carry the speeds that I did in practice or I thought I needed to. Vettel stated that he and Aston Martin simply require more time to better understand what is needed to extract more lap time from the new car. He also suggested that the higher than expected temperatures that greeted teams in Spain this weekend didn't help matters. The team had to make cooling decisions as part of the massive package of aerodynamic changes several weeks ago, and it was caught off guard in part by unexpectedly high temperatures in Barcelona this weekend. In such cases, teams are forced to open up their cars to increase cooling capacity, which generates drag and reduces straight line speed. Aston Martin's Chief Technical Officer, Andrew Green, stated that the new package shows promise, but that the team needs to learn more about it. There's a lot of optimization in this car that we need to do. It's a completely different car. It needs to run around all the setups to see where the sweet spot is. I think the temperatures really caught us out this weekend. We had to make a decision obviously on the cooling package for this car a month or so ago, and we didn't bring enough, to be honest, so that didn't help. It's a compromise for the race. For sure, it didn't show its potential. It was much closer to its potential yesterday, and we lost our way a little bit, which can happen when you've got a brand new car. Yesterday was the first day of running, really. Green also explained that Vettel and Stroll struggled with handling issues in qualifying. They both suffered with significant oversteer. Once you get oversteer at this track, not only does it hurt your sectors 1 and 2, by the time you get to sector 3, the rear tyres are finished, so sector 3 suffers as well. So all in all, we could have done a lot better. And given how much has changed, Green believes that the revised AMR22 should be considered a launch car with the potential to become a great car. We're very comfortable with what we've learned and happy with what we've learned so far. I think it's got potential. For sure, it's got way more potential than the car that went before it. We've just got to start extracting that performance and start developing it, really. So, what are your thoughts on the whole scandal? Do you think Red Bull overreacted? Was the FIA's decision correct? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos.